Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the various factors that can influence how a human being develops. Okay. Now, um, if you see, if you think for a minute about some particular characteristics that you have, okay, maybe intelligence or your looks or your personality, you would wonder, am I like this or am I this way because I'm like my parents? Has it come to me from my parents? Or has it come to me from the environment that I've lived in? Or what has influenced how I have developed today or who I have become today? So, scientists also once hoped that they would be able to answer these questions and they would be able to identify that a particular trait in a person, say the person getting angry easily or the person being a quick learner, they could say that, oh, this is influenced by the genes, or this is influenced by the environment that this child lived with, or this was influenced by the parent that this child lived with. Okay, so they wanted to be able to attribute it to any one or the other. But over the years, scientists have realized that there is not almost no feature in human development that can be said to be like this is only because of your genes or only because of your environment, because they have now discovered that development is shaped by both genes and environment and by a third factor also, which we will examine in this presentation. Okay, so for example, here it says major influences on development. As you see, the two things that I talked about were genes, which is your heredity or your nature, from where you have got the genetic material from your parents. And the other is the environmental factors or the things around you. Okay. However, there is a third factor called a gene environment interaction, because nowadays scientists have understood that we cannot separate the genes from the environment. Even in the child developing in the womb, there is some environment in the womb where the child can hear the sounds that the mother is hearing, can experience what is happening in the mother's body, can experience the hormonal imbalances or balances in the mother, and that can affect the development of the child. For example, if a mother has more of one hormone or less of another. So even the child in the womb has an environment. Even the developing the child when it's first conceived and the cells are fertilized and they're developing into a baby, even those cells are growing in an environment, either an acidic environment, an alkaline environment, depending on the food that the mother is eating, dependent on the feelings that the mother is experiencing. Is she happy to be having this baby? Is she worried to be having this baby? Is she not wanting a baby at this time? So all of those feature as the environment of the child. So basically what scientists are saying today is that not only your genetic makeup, but everything from the time you are conceived, even the environment of the cell, the environment in which that cell is growing, the body in which that child is growing, and each and every environmental factor can have an impact on the genetic makeup of the child. So we cannot separate genes and environment. Okay. Now, if you look, you see human genes. Of course, you know that a human being is made up of 23 pairs of chromosomes. All the chromosomes are what you can see on the screen. Okay, and if you look at the lower picture, you'll see the female chromosomes and the male chromosomes. Yes, and I've circled some in yellow. No, the differences in a male and a female are because of the presence of the sex chromosomes, which is the 23rd chromosome, where a female will have an XX chromosome and a male will have an X and a Y. So you see the size of the Y chromosome is very small, whereas the size of the X chromosomes are little bigger. So girls or boys are dependent on the kind of the sperm that fertilizes the egg or the ovum. So basically sex of a child is determined by the father and not by the mother, as people used to believe earlier, no? And they used to blame the mother if she had a girl child or if they wanted a boy child, those kinds of things. So basically we have our genetic makeup all in our chromosomes. Now the development and the expression of these chromosomes change depending on the genes that are coming from the mother and the genes coming from the father. In these pairs, see the 23 pairs, one pair from the mother will one chromosome from the mother will combine with one chromosome from the father to make a pair. Okay, you'll understand better here if you look at these traits. For example, the trait of having curly hair and black hair, okay, is a dominant gene. You have genes which are dominant, they are very strong, and you have genes which are recessive, then they are weak genes. Now suppose a mother has a gene for curly hair and black hair, and the father has the gene for smooth hair and brown hair. When those two chromosomes come together, okay, or those two genetic things come together, then the dominant gene is the curly and black hair, so the mother's gene will be expressed in the child, not the father's. But suppose the mother also had a gene for smooth hair and light colored hair, and the father also had a gene for smooth hair and light colored hair, then both those genes coming together will make the child have smooth and light colored hair, because both those recessive genes combine together to form a dominant gene. Okay, so dominant gene is a characteristic that is expressed because it is dominant in the gene that is either in the mother or father, and when the child is conceived, the dominant gene has clubbed with a recessive gene. So the recessive gene or the quiet gene keeps quiet, okay, it just remains, and the dominant gene is expressed. So for example, you see most people have eye color which is dark brown. Dark brown is the eye color on a dominant gene. You will find very few people who have eye color which is black. Very few people who have eye color which is blue. Okay. So if you look now at all these characteristics, you'll be able to even identify in yourself whether what parts of you are products of dominant genes or which are of recessive genes. For example, having dimples is supposed to be dominant, but most people around us, you see, will not have dimples. That means the recessive gene is carrying on in many people to combine together with another recessive gene such that many people don't have dimples. Okay. You can watch videos on this on YouTube, or you can do some more reading on this if you are interested in this kind of to gain extra knowledge in this kind of stuff. Okay. Now, the factors that influence the expression of genes is the interaction between the mother's and father's genetic combination in the body of the mother. Okay, like this is based on what I told you. If you look at the point in yellow, it says some genes act in an additive way. If a child has one tall parent and one short parent, so the child may not become tall and may not become short, but may become a height between the mother and the father. But some children follow a dominant recessive pattern, some genes, sorry. For example, the same another child may have a tall parent and a short parent, but tallness may be a dominant gene in both the parents, and that one parent has not become tall. Okay, so if tallness as a gene is expressed from both the parents on that child may become taller than both his parents. Okay, so there are different ways in which genes are expressed. For example, with eye color, like I told you, the gene for brown eyes is dominant, the gene for black eyes is recessive. So if both parents have genes for black eyes, then there's a higher chance of the child having black eyes, even if the parent has brown eyes. Okay. Now, the third factor that we talked was the gene environment interaction, the environment to which the child is exposed in the womb and throughout the rest of their life, like I told you, can impact the expression of a gene. Okay, even if a mother is exposed to harmful drugs while the baby is in the womb, okay, even that can impact how a child develops. Okay, height also can be influenced by environmental factors. For example, the child may have a gene for being tall, but suppose the child is not getting good nourishment, is born in a poor family, is not getting enough of stuff to eat, is not getting a chance to play and run around, is made to work at an early age, made to sit in a room where he is bent all the time doing some work with his hands, okay, then it's likely that even though the child is destined to be tall according to his genetic makeup, he will not become tall because of his environment not being conducive to his growth. Then there are many environmental factors, and you can think about these in detail when you are going through them. For example, the physical environment in which the child lives. If it doesn't give the child a chance to play, to express himself, to grow, like I told you in the example of the tall child or the short child, yeah, some children may remain short even though their genes are there to make them tall. Also, the kind of place the child lives in, are there toxins in the environment, is there certain pesticide being used. For example, there was many years ago, DDT was a pesticide that was used in India, and it caused a lot of children to be born with some disabilities or defects because the pesticide from the plants, which was used on the plants, was going through the soil to the water and then coming to the people who lived in that area in the water that they consumed. So the pregnant mothers then were having children who had some or the other disability. So the geographical or physical environment can have an effect on the development of a child. Then family relationships, whether the family is a happy family, whether family is a sad family, whether they are always fighting, anger is expressed often, whether it's an abusive family, whether there's an alcoholic father, whether there's a drug addict mother, all this can have a influence on how the child develops. Educational status, it is seen that a mother generally with more education is able to give better care to her child. Okay, however, in lower status families, lower educational status families, they are not aware of good nutrition, they are not aware of healthy practices, hygiene, and other consideration, other factors are there. Then nutrition, exercise, and health, the health of the baby from the time the mother is conceived, whether the mother is underweight, overweight, whether she is well fed, whether she is getting a chance to exercise, the child whether he is getting a chance to go out, whether the child has been having different illnesses from the time they are small, whether the child has got the opportunity to get vaccinated. Okay, so there are many other factors that can affect the development of the child. Socioeconomic status is again whether you're rich or whether you're poor, whether you're middle class. Learning and reinforcement is the kind of atmosphere that is there in the house. Are you always punished, okay, for doing bad things, or are you encouraged when you do good things? Is there a climate of learning where your mother is ready to teach you, allowing you to make mistakes? Is there unconditional love and acceptance? Okay, the social relationships with the children in your neighborhood, with the neighbors that you live with close to. Okay, other social relationship, what relationship does your mother have with her workplace, for example, or your father have with the factory that he works in? All these social relationships can also affect. For example, a working mother, a child with a working mother will have less time to spend with the mother, but whatever time the mother spends, she may spend it fully with the child. A mother who is at home may be at home the whole day, but the child may be kept in a creche, or the child may be sent to school, or the mother may not spend time with the child. But for example, research has shown now children who spend time with mothers at home and which mothers talk to their child often develop language and vocabulary skills much before children whose mothers are working. But children whose mothers are working have better developed vocabulary later on in life because their mothers expose them to a variety of more words as compared to mothers who stay at home. Now that also depends on the education of the mother. So we can't only say that working mothers and non-working mothers. So there are many factors basically. Then the facilities available. For example, is there a park in the neighborhood? Is there some facility where I have a garden to play outside? Can I run around? Are there some hobby or craft classes nearby? That will affect what I learn, how I learn, what interest I develop. Suppose there's a facility of learning music close by, then I may learn music. If I've grown up in a musical family, then I may be already preconditioned to be learning music. There may be something available in my house which I can learn from. So there are many environmental factors, anything and everything that can affect child development. Okay, I have told you just a few of the main basic ones just for the sake of orienting you and helping you to think now about what other factors may also be there. Okay, so on your own now you can just sit and think, are there any more genetic, hereditary, environmental factors that may affect a child's development? You could probably make a list of some of the factors that I have not covered, and when we have a class maybe on Zoom or Google Meet to discuss these first two units, that time we will have some time to discuss and you will get a chance to say your points. There may be many points which I may not even have thought about, but you have thought about. Okay, so we'll go through this. It's good to always explore your thinking patterns also with relation to this. Okay, so I'll end this unit on influences in development. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Okay, and we shall meet again to learn some more soon.